So welcome to the next in our online series of messages brought to you by the Friends at Center Congregational Church in Linfield. This is Reverend Tom Bentley, the pastor, hoping that these messages can help you in your journey of life. If you'd like to know more about Center Congregational Church, there'll be some more information for you at the end of this video. So thanks for spending time with us. So grace and peace to you from our friend Jesus. It's the first day of spring here in New England. We had a very tough year in the winter. A lot of snow and ice. It was really cold, and things are coming back alive. Some of those plants are beat up, but they're coming back, and now I'm out in my yard. I planted a number of fruit trees over the years. I have in the front part of my property, for a peach tree, a fairly large peach tree. She's older. She's been around a while. But I have a mixed relationship with her because she hasn't been producing any peaches these last 2 years, despite my constant work pruning and spraying and messing around with this tree. So there's a new season, and I looked at her, I said, sweetheart, this is your last season. If I don't see some peaches, if we can't get ahead of this brown rot and these problems, you're going to have to sleep with the fishes. You know, Jesus tells a similar story in the gospel this week in the lectionary. Let's take a look at it. Then he told them a story. A man had an apple tree planted in his front yard. He came to it expecting to find apples, but there weren't any. He said to his gardener, "What's going on here? For 3 years now, I've come to this tree expecting apples, and not one apple have I found. Chop it down. Why waste good ground with it any longer?" The gardener said, "Let's give it another year. I'll dig around it and fertilize, and maybe it will produce next year. If it doesn't, then chop it down." Sometimes in life, our productivity goes down as we wrestle with those things that afflict us. In some ways, we're like this apple tree or my peach tree. We've had a few bad seasons, and things aren't coming up like they used to. It turns out that we need some kind of intervention in our lives. And the image of pruning is a powerful one because it gets rid of what is not needed. It gets rid of what's in the way. We need to deal with that in our lives. What in your life is in the way? What in your life is drawing energy out of you that produces nothing of benefit for you or anybody else? These distractions contribute to the suffering. Jesus is speaking to his disciples, and he says, basically, let's simplify this thing. God is gracious and loving, but you have to do something too. And if you don't eventually show up for the necessities of the Spirit, then you will fall by the wayside. In the gospel, he says, you will die. This encouragement to live fully means that we have to get rid of stuff. And yes, that might even be painful. When I prune my peach tree, I wonder if it feels the pain. I don't think it does. Maybe it feels relief. Has that ever happened to you, where you get rid of stuff? Maybe you've moved to a new place and left behind all the grief, the agony, and the junk in the previous place you lived. That can be an opportunity for new life. And that's what Jesus is offering us, an opportunity for new life, but not through the old ways with the old deadwood. A lot of stuff needs to be cut away, sometimes drastically. When a tree really goes downhill and hasn't produced something for a while, just an external upper pruning isn't enough. Sometimes they have to do what's called a root pruning, cutting to the very base of the critter, and that will shock it back into being what it ought to be, which is producing fruit, giving new life and new opportunity for the bees, for the world, for us, and even for itself, because those little seeds can eventually turn into a peach tree on occasion. We need to be in this trajectory of living. And to do that, sometimes circumstances come along and chop us out right at the roots. Has that happened to you? And if it has, or maybe it's happening right now, can you reflect on how it might contribute to the betterment, even if it's painful? Can you look back in your life where there was some heavy pruning and say, I'm a better person for it? I find a lot of people can do that when they take on the reality of what really came to pass. There's a lot of stripping and slashing and burning lately in societies across our globe, and some of it's necessary. We're entering a new time that requires new technologies and new attitudes, but the old blessed values need to come along here too. This is a critical time of juncture where we have to discern. In our personal lives, you can at some point prune too much. So there's a balance here. That's for you to understand, but what Jesus does is he invites us into the loving, forgiving embrace of God. We have become overgrown with nonsense and things in the way. We can allow the circumstances to chop at us. Often, sometimes it's not even our call if that comes to pass. But in the end, can we have the hope and faith that new life will come from the mess and the struggle and the cutting and the pain? I think of another fruit farmer. There was a big wind came up, took down all his orchard trees. It was just near harvest time. His son said, "What are we going to do, Dad?" He said, "Harvest the fruit and burn the rest." He knew that from the roots of those trees would come new trees, and they would be more vital than ever. It was going to be a hard time to adjust. So take that last harvest and wait. Wait for the course of life to take over, for the flow of the divine creative force of love in the universe to work through us and among us. This is what we need to do as a society, as a culture, as well as individuals. And I hope that when we start digging around at the roots, we find that some are totally critical, particularly the taproot, that deepest root on any plant. That's our Christian faith. That's our relationship to Jesus. And without that, if you cut that, the creature dies. I hope the cuts won't go that deep. So in this journey of questioning and discernment, which is the journey of Lent, this time of year, I encourage you to look and ask yourself, what's in your life needs to be chipped away? So thanks for spending time with us. So thank you again for spending time with us. If you'd like to know more about Center Congregational Church, you can go online at center-church.org. Of course, we'd always love to hear from you. You can reach us at the phone number above or the email address. So peace and best wishes in your journey. Goodbye and amen.